happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Did he really commit suicide? I mean, listen, there's so many questions that are unanswered. And we're lucky enough on the line with us right now to have Jeffrey Epstein's brother, who obviously has had a very busy 24 to 48 hours, Mark Epstein, joining us right now on the line. Mark, I do appreciate you being here, sir. How are you?
So far, so good. How are you?
Doing okay, Mark. Obviously, your brother is in the news every single day, especially the last couple days. Do I frame that correctly, though? I mean, regardless of all the other stuff that I know, some of the stuff you don't want to get into, you're just trying to figure out what really happened to your brother, right?
Yeah, because it doesn't look like he committed suicide. If you look at why they say he committed suicide, the only thing they have, and let me stick a pin in that, Bill Barr admitted in his congressional testimony that they never did an investigation into the cause of Jeffrey's death. Soon after Jeffrey died, Bill Barr came out and said that he saw the videotape that was taken outside of the tier, because we know the camera in the tier wasn't working. He said he saw the videotape, he personally watched it, and nobody went in or out of the tier,
right.
And that convinced him it was a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that, I said, this got to be some kind of a cover-up. Because, number one, I thought, why is the Attorney General of the United States personally watching this videotape? Didn't make sense. And he could have somebody from his office watch it. Wait, then he completely ignored the fact that there were 12 other prisoners or so on that tier that could have done harm to Jeffrey without having to go and come. And now, with the more recent release of the videotapes, it shows that it does not show the door to the tier.
Right.
Okay? So whatever Bill Barr's conclusion is based on thin air. It doesn't pass the laugh test.
Agree 100%. Do you believe that Donald Trump knows the truth with what happened to your brother?
I wouldn't be surprised if he does.
You use the term cover-up. I think most people would agree with you. I believe your brother's death is a cover-up. I don't think he committed suicide. I believe everything is a cover-up. I just want to ask you this in a very general sense. Are you surprised at all that after Republicans voted the way they did to release the files, are you surprised, Mark, that all of a sudden Pam Bondi comes out and opens up a new investigation, so now they can't release the files? Does that surprise you at all? What's your reaction to that?
Not whatsoever. It seems like if they want to keep the files hidden, this would be the way to do it. So they're just following, the playbook to keep these things hidden. They don't want them out.
And that's got to.
I was told that they were scrubbed anyhow. That they were taking in names that they didn't want to be seen.
Mark, I want to ask you about that because I think TMZ ran a story on that. I think you had done an interview, and I want you to, if you can expand on that at all for us. You had made the statement the other day. Correct me if I'm wrong. That you believe that names of Republicans. You didn't mention any names, but you said names of Republicans you believe are scrubbed. Can you just go into that a little further and give us a little background on that?
Okay, first, understand that a lot of people don't believe Jeffrey committed suicide. And I've been getting a lot of information from a lot of interested people who seem to know what they're doing and in positions to know what they're talking about. And I was told just the other day that these files are being scrubbed to get Republicans out of there. And I was told it was being done in a facility in Winchester, Virginia.
Wow.
So that's what I was told by a relatively reliable source.
Do you think that's why today Pam Bondi, and that's why Donald Trump said, go ahead, Republicans, vote yes, and that's why Pam Bondi is now opening up a new investigation as well to give them more time? What do you think the meaning is of that?
No, I think that's a good guess. I don't like speculating. Right. People have heard me before. I don't like to speculate, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other thing about the suicide, when I'm talking about the other thing, Bill Barr's conclusion is based on bullshit. Okay, after Jeffrey died, I fully believe he committed suicide. I had no reason to doubt it until the next day when the two qualified pathologists did the autopsy, and they came out of the autopsy saying that they can't call it a suicide because it looked so much like a homicide. That was Dr. Kristen Roman, who was the city pathologist. Wow. It was her autopsy to do. And Dr. Michael Barden, who I
very respected guy.
Extremely respected.
Yeah.
Okay, so they said it looks more like a homicide than a suicide. Yeah. And then a few days later, sort of in conjunction with Bill Barr's statement, Barbara Sampson, who was the then chief medical examiner, she calls it a suicide. Now, first of all, the fact that it was originally undetermined and it looked more like a homicide, that does not appear in the Justice Department report. Also, very telling is Barbara Sampson, the chief medical examiner, never saw Jeffrey's body. She was not at the autopsy. She was not in the office that day. What? It was a Sunday.
Wow.
So she's calling it a suicide without seeing the body, and two very highly qualified forensic pathologists said it looks like a homicide. So, if we were in a court of law, my two expert witnesses say it's a homicide, looks like a homicide, and Barbara Sampson says it's a suicide based on what?
Sir, could I ask you what exactly made them come to that conclusion that it looked more like a homicide?
Well, one of the major things that Dr. Bryan was saying is that Jeffrey had 3 broken bones in his neck. He's never seen 3 broken bones in a hanging of this type. That's the way he was hung. Now, more studies are being done, and it turns out that it seems like Jeffrey could not have committed suicide the way they said because of the marks on his body.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. If you're just joining us, Mark Epstein, he's the brother of Jeffrey Epstein. So I want to ask you this question, Mark, and I want to be careful with asking it in a very general sense. When we all are in the public eye, private stuff gets out there in the open, and I'm not going to be specific with you because I know there are certain things you do not want to talk about, and I totally respect that because I do respect you, and all you want is to know what really happened to your brother. And by the way, Mark, I'm on your side, and I don't blame you. You didn't do anything wrong. But how difficult is it for you still trying to figure out the truth of what happened to your brother? And now your name, in a general sense, is being, put out there in the mud for the public to see. That's got to bother you. I mean, how are you dealing with that?
I'm really fine. I don't really mind. I mean, I'm in a position, I can't be fired. I'm retired for a long time, so I don't care that the name's out there, and I don't care what people may think. So, people that know me know who I am and what the general population thinks. I really don't care. I'm not running for office.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for votes. I'm just trying to find out who killed my brother and who had him killed.
I think that's such an important distinction too. At the end of the day, Jeffrey to you was your brother. He was a loved one, and for you, it's a loss. And so there's a lot of emotion there connected to that a lot of us don't have. So
no question about that. Yeah. Mark, I have to ask you this: if you were alone in a room privately with Donald Trump, there were times where you spent time with Trump and your brother, your late brother Jeffrey. I mean, if you were alone with him right now, I'm just curious, what would you say to him?
I don't want to speculate on that.
Tell me.
It wouldn't be pleasant. Let's put it that way.
You wouldn't be nice. I'm sure you would not. Do you think we're ever going to learn the truth about everything? What I mean by everything is what happened to your brother. Do you think we're going to learn, what Trump's involvement was with your brother and anybody else that hasn't been held to account? Do you think as a whole, general sense, we're ever going to find out the truth, Mark, about everything?
About everything, probably not. I equate this to the Warren Commission report with JFK's assassination. Whatever they heard, whatever they saw, it was a foregone conclusion that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone and was the sole shooter. Well, now it's 60-some years later, and we now know that's not the case. Yeah. So other things have come up. So this is sort of like what's going on. No matter what they want to hear, what they want to say, they're trying to call it a suicide, negating all of the other facts. And there's lots of other things. There was a wrong head count in the prison. This is all documented. Yep. Right before Jeffrey's death, there were 73 prisoners on the tip. Right after the death, there were 72. There was a missing prisoner because nobody was officially transferred off. Right. And we have found the name of an inmate that seems to have been transferred there on the 8th of August and then transferred out on the 10th or so after the death.
Wow.
And that name that we found does not appear in any court records.
Wow.
But it doesn't seem to have been a convicted person.
Right. And also, Mark, you've said this on my show before, which I think is very important, and I want to bring this up again. Your brother had a court date and a court hearing coming up. I think it was in a few days to see if he would get out on probation, right, or at least for temporarily.
They were appealing the bail decision,
right?
Which you have the right to do. Like we hear that P. Diddy's tried to appeal his bail decision a number of times. Yeah, so. I don't think they had the actual date set yet, but it doesn't take long to get a hearing for the appeal. And Jeffrey was putting up what would have been the highest bail ever in the United States.
Right. And he probably would have had the money to do it, which even makes no sense as to why he would have taken his own life. I have to ask you about Maxwell. And I know you weren't very close to her. I get that. But what do you make at all, if anything, Mark, of the preferential treatment that the Trump administration is giving her? She is allowed a dog. She's allowed a laptop. Guests arrive with snacks. She's allowed security when she goes to work out. It's almost like you would call it a Club Med facility. I'm wondering if you have, because this is unprecedented, Mark. I mean, to me,
her lawyer said they couldn't do. And I'm not looking for her to run, but I thought it was interesting in the testimony when she was asked about different people, if they were involved with anything, and she basically said no. Gave a pretty quick no kind of answer. But when she was asked about Trump, she went on at length about how he was always professional and she never saw anything wrong. And I thought, gee, he's really getting a special exoneration above the other people who she just, said no to, basically.
Mark,
I thought that was interesting.
It's the only logical explanation, isn't it, Mark? The only reason why she's getting this kind of treatment is because Donald Trump has something to hide. It's the only explanation that I could come up with. Would you agree with that?
Well, I can't come up with another one.
Right.
And sir, I just wanted to ask, my last question is, what are one or a few of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of us have that you would like to clear up?
Jeffrey commits suicide. That's the main one.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty important one.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people.
It's the only one I care about.
Yeah.
No, I understand that,
But,
and I want to say that once again. Mark didn't do anything wrong. He lost his brother, and he wants the truth. I would want the truth, no matter who my family member is or what they did in their past. And it sounds to me that there is no doubt in my mind, and Mark, I think you would agree that no, your brother did not take his own life, that he was murdered, and that there's 3 minutes of that videotape that's missing, and this is a huge cover-up from start to finish.
Well, I actually think Bill Barr really needs to be questioned properly. Because even in his congressional testimony, when he was questioned about Dr. Biden's participation in the autopsy and Dr. Biden's comments, he said Dr. Biden came in after the fact.
Yeah.
That's nonsense. Biden was there for the entire autopsy with Dr. Kristen Roman. Dr. Sampson came in after the fact with his suicide conclusion based on nothing.
If your brother never met Donald J. Trump, do you believe he would still be alive today?
Probably.
Wow. I mean, that's saying something. And I wish that wasn't the case. Regardless of where your brother would be right now, maybe behind bars, he certainly didn't deserve this to happen. And you deserve the truth. Your family deserves the truth. There's no doubt about that. Before I let you go, Mark, I mean, how many requests have you got over the course of just the last year, and particularly over the course of the last few weeks? I would imagine everybody wants to speak to you. And, there's a reason why, right? You don't want to be on camera. I don't blame you for that. There's a lot of crazy people out there. You saw what happened to Charlie Kirk. But how crazy has this just been for you personally? You have a private life. How crazy has this been for you?
Yeah, the last few days, last weekend to tonight, it's been pretty crazy. Over the last 6 years, I've made a lot of contacts with journalists, all over the planet. And the last few days alone, I have people in Australia, Great Britain, France, Italy, obviously the United States, calling me. I mean, it's been literally dozens of people.
I mean, let me be clear. If people out there want justice for victims, which I want that, but I also want your family to get to the truth of what happened to your brother. I always have been on your side on that, regardless of the things that your brother did. No one deserves closure. No one is above the law. Your family deserves closure. I hope you get the truth, Mark. I hope we all get the truth, and I hope you get the truth. And I really, truly appreciate you taking the time once again to come on. If there's anything else we can do for you, let us know. And hang in there, my friend. And I appreciate your candor. I really do, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Take care. That's Mark Epstein, everybody. Just to be clear, and I'm going to be fully transparent on this, and I don't think Mark would mind me saying this. He did not want me to ask about the emails.
Yeah.
He did not want me to ask who Bubba is. Okay. Now I can give you my opinions on that, but when someone is willing to come on this show and they respectfully ask, "Hey, Brian, don't ask me about this.
Don't put me in that spot." Yeah.
I'm going to respect their wishes because he was nice enough to come on. So
can we?
What do I think that was? I mean, I'll ask you. I think he was making a joke about Bill Clinton. I think it was in jest. I think it was a joke.
Yeah.
And he's probably tired of talking about it. So, yeah.
But it brings up, something that I think everybody needs to keep in perspective here, which is when you read something, we need to all keep in mind confirmation bias is a real thing. So we read these emails, and one side wants them to say one thing, one side wants it to say another, and somewhere in the middle is probably what it actually meant. Now, with all that said, I think we need to just stay focused on what really matters here, which is they are covering this up, and we have video of people that work in that area telling us that they are removing Republicans from that list, that they've been scrubbing it for months.
Yeah.
And this family wants answers. The victims want justice, and we should be paying attention to every single person that is impeding this happening right now.
And there are people that are saying, well, if it was a joke, why won't he just say that? First of all, I don't go in someone else's mind. If somebody is willing, and listen, I think we got a lot out of him here. He pretty much said it out loud. He believes Donald Trump had something to do with his brother's death. He pretty much said it multiple times.
That last response was, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Without actually saying it.
Yeah.
But again, I think I want to repeat that everybody deserves some closure in this situation.
Of course they do.
And if you followed me online, that compassion, empathy, those kind of things are things we try to focus on. You may not see it so much when I'm responding to MAGA people, but
he deserves closure.
It's there. The family deserves some closure.
Mark didn't do anything wrong. I want to be very clear on that. I think Mark seems like a pretty guy with a lot of candor. I mean, he's being honest.
And he's coming out. He didn't have to come on. He doesn't have to come on the shows. He doesn't have to be out here advocating.
He wants to know what happens to his brother, and I don't blame him.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And again, the thing we have to keep in mind with the emails, with photos, with everything is that just because you were photographed with somebody somewhere doesn't mean that you participated in anything, nefarious. Just like you said, his family didn't do anything and they lost a loved one. So it's like, I think it's very easy.
He mentioned Bill Barr a lot too, didn't he? Wow.
I think if there's anybody out there that can tell us that you need to dig deeper into somebody, I think that he should be somebody we listen to. And what I wanted to throw in there before he jumped off was I actually appreciated, I wanted to ask him about the bones in the neck, because, we all hear things, we read things online. It's like, what's true, what's not?
Well, I'll tell you, Michael Bodden is, as I said, is one of the most respected in the industry.
But it was just nice to have him confirm, that this is what he, as a family member, was told.
Here's what I believe happened. And again, this is speculation. I'm giving an educated opinion. Donald Trump knew how dangerous Jeffrey Epstein, dangerous for Trump
and supporters.
If Epstein told the truth. Trump was very worried. He was president at the time. Keep in mind, Joe Biden was not president when Epstein allegedly committed suicide, which I don't believe he did.
Yeah.
I believe Donald Trump has a mobster type mentality, and I absolutely believe Donald Trump had something to do with what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. I believe that somebody went in there, and there were multiple people that were in on it. They had to be. There's 3 minutes of videotape that is missing. Somebody went in there and they smothered him. That's exactly what happened.
It sounds like they broke his neck.
Probably. There was probably a little bit of a struggle.
They had what, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
2.5 minutes?
Exactly. I don't buy the explanation that he took his own life. It doesn't make any sense to me. That is exactly what I think happened. I believe this is a big cover-up. The entire thing is a cover-up. I believe there are Republicans in there and there are Democrats in there. I believe there are very powerful people that are in there, and justice needs to be served for the victims, the 1,000 or so victims. It's incredible. And not one person besides Maxwell faced any consequences. And now Maxwell, as Mark just said on the line, by the way, Maxwell is getting this preferential treatment. The only logical reason for it is Trump.
She gave up something.
Of course.
She gave up something. She's getting time with emotional support puppies.
Of course.
She gave up something.
Yeah, of course. So it's a major cover-up.
I'm going to say this. If Jeffrey Epstein had actually committed suicide, I don't believe personally that we would have needed, 3 or 4 votes in Congress and the Senate to get this stuff released. And then on top of it, now we're seeing games, even when the Senate and Congress says, no, release it. You know, again, DC Drano lives a TikTok. Where y'all at? We got photos of you guys holding that up in the air like 9 months ago.
It's so
now Pam Bondi's going, I guess we're going to get phase 2 of the binder now. Like, come on, man.
It's really despicable. And this is a major cover up. And yes, not just a cover up for Donald Trump not wanting the files to be released because he's all over them. It's also a cover up with Jeffrey Epstein's death. I've been very clear on that since day one. I never thought that Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. I don't think there's any chance. I really don't.
Well, and again, it's not just us saying it.
Yeah.
You know, if it was just the left saying it, then I think it would be a little easier to discredit. But
I believe he was murdered.
You got people on the right too going, yeah.
I believe he was murdered. And it's a cover up from top to bottom.
That's what I think we need to focus on, is that it wasn't just one man to make this happen. And I always equate it to investments. Donald Trump is president right now because a lot of very powerful people that want deregulations have invested in him over the last decade or two. And to them, Jeffrey Epstein was a threat to their investment. And therefore, the threat had to be neutralized.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that's exactly what they did.